How does one say goodbye? This is a difficult concept for me, and one that I'll admit I've never cared to try and grasp. And really, why would I want to? It seems so very final. And this, for obvious reasons, is not pleasing to me. This is especially the case when you attempt to look at the measure of one's life, what they saw, what they did, and who they touched. In the case of my Grandma Daisy, her journey began right after the end of the First Great War. She was born into a world where literally the generation prior to her fought and earned her the right to vote. She saw the advent of the mass-produced automobile, the Great Depression, the Second World War, civil rights, women's lib, the yuppies, the hippies, and everything in between. She lived, she loved, and she worked hard to raise her family right. She accomplished more with less, and when the odds were rarely stacked in her favor. I respected this woman, I adored this woman, I loved this woman. We all did. And while it would be difficult to fathom the feelings of love from a grandchild, that love is surpassed tenfold by the love of one's daughters and the love of one's sons. My dad has put this love to words, which I will share with you now. It's titled, The Monarch. How do you say goodbye to the one that gave you life? I will try to ease my pain by touching on the things she endured in her nearly 94 years. For the first 55 years, she focused on raising 5 children whose births spanned 20 years from the oldest to the youngest. She buried her parents, her in-laws, all of her siblings save for one, the eldest son, her son-in-law, and her husband. And although there was much tears and great sadness, she did not complain. For even though she experienced loss, her love for all those past and those left behind was endless. Dad always liked to have us think that it was he that ruled when it came to business and keeping a watchful eye over the growing horde. But you would have to have been blind not to see the quiet and sound influence Mom held as the chairman of that board. Mom enjoyed 15 grandkids, 17 great-grandkids, and lived to see the arrival of her first great-grandchild. They traveled the world and saw more than most would dream of, but there was a special place in their heart for Florida. It was truly their home away from home, and when they couldn't be there physically, you could always see it calling to their souls. For those of you who may not know, Mom was tough as nails. She made it through a bowel blockage, a melanoma, Meniere's, 4 heart attacks, and Guillain-Barré, which is known as French polio. And even through all of this, she never complained. She lived long enough to outlive all of those who came before, those who came with, and some that came after, and in doing so, she became the true monarch of this family. We came to her for guidance, her mind remaining sharp until her very last breath. And although it is hard to lose our mother, our grandmother, and our great-grandmother, it would be impossible not to marvel at all the years. And right now, she's standing with God, looking down upon us, saying the words that only Grandma could say. For crying out loud, I was 93 years old. What's with all the tears? Because for the amazing journey this has been, there are no complaints here. And though she taught us all she could, there's one more lesson, it seems. Now close your eyes, imagine and learn as this monarch finally gets to spread her wings. With love, Alan. So I come back to the original question, how does one say goodbye? I've decided that the most appropriate answer in the case for a woman as awe-inspiring as my grandma is that we don't have to. Please join me in rejoicing in the legacy my grandma has left behind, in the knowledge that hers was a long-awaited and joyous homecoming, and that we will, for as long as life remains in our bodies, carry Daisy with us. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is truly a life worth celebrating.